Are you ready? Let's go! I have spent the last year researching the best routines and habits, how millionaires spend their mornings to learn what actions set you up to be successful so that I can then implement them myself. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 easy research-backed steps to building a routine. This is how I built my routine back when I was studying at university, working part-time and building my business on the side, all while actually enjoying my life in Milan. Because building a routine is actually quite straightforward. It is just incorporating a bunch of actions into your morning/evening and repeating them every single day. But there is literally this trend of grind going around, and all you see on YouTube and Instagram is people screaming at you to sleep when you're dead and take cold plunges and wake up at 5 a.m. and hit the gym. What I want to point out that is a myth, and a routine is in fact not that at all. When it comes to routines, there isn't a one size fits all. Waking up at 9 a.m., not meditating, not hitting the gym straight away can still be considered a routine so long as it helps you turn your dreams into reality. Our routine is an everyday guideline that enhances your productivity and reduces the friction and stress that comes from making hard decisions every single day, like waking up at 7 a.m. and sitting for 2 hours of focused work. I promise you, I don't want to do that either, but it is what stands behind the success of people like Cleo Abraham and Serena Williams and even Jeff Bezos. And if a routine has helped them achieve their goals, then I'm sure as hell creating one for myself. Step number 1 is to assess your current lifestyle. The first step in building a powerful and lasting routine is to analyze your current schedule. The purpose of this is to try and figure out what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. What are some activities that you'd like to keep, and what are behaviors that will not be moving on with you? We will be conducting what can only be called a time audit. For that, monitor your daily tasks over the course of a week, or simply open up your calendar to take a close look at how you currently spend your time. Write down all of your daily activities, including work, meals, exercise, going out with friends, and sleep time. Once you've done that for at least one whole week, you can start by identifying certain activities or behaviors that are repeated day in and day out. Those are your habits. Now it's time to identify your major time wasters and unproductive habits. Ask yourself the following questions. How long does it take me to get through each task? Could I have finished it in less time? And if yes, then why did it take me that long? How many hours a day do I spend on social media? You can check that in the metric settings of your phone. How often do I go on social media? How many notifications a day do I get? Do I leave tasks unfinished and move to the next one? How often am I forced to reschedule tasks or meetings for lack of time? Some of the most common time wasters tend to occur for small periods of time but show up repeatedly throughout the day. That includes excessive screen time, multitasking, leaving tasks unfinished, unnecessary meetings, procrastination, perfectionism, lack of prioritization, and more. How many of these did you notice in your own day-to-day? Let me know in the comments, because I can honestly say that I have fallen into the trap of more than one of them at some point in time. Step 2, define your goals and priorities. The only way to build a routine that will bring you closer to your goal every single day is to be very clear on what you want to achieve. This will help you focus on what truly matters. You start by writing out a list of short and long-term goals. It can be anything from improving your fitness conditions, learning a new skill, or even gaining a new profession. Long-term goals require extended periods of time to achieve, often spanning several years or more. They are broader in scope, less specific, because they tend to be focused on an overarching idea or vision, like writing a best-selling book or becoming a millionaire. They require loads of strategic planning and sustained effort over time, but they do offer long-term direction and purpose, sustaining motivation over long periods of time. Common examples include earning a degree, building a career, purchasing a home. Long-term goals are our starting point. They are created once we decide to take action on our dreams and aspirations, whereas short-term goals are achievable within a few days or month, typically less than a year. Highly specific, more adaptable because they can be modified based on need and feedback, and involve immediate actions with minimal strategic planning. They provide quick wins, boosting immediate motivation and morale, and can be something like running 10 kilometers in 30 minutes, saving for a short vacation, writing a book outline. Short-term goals act as stepping stones on your way towards achieving your long-term ambitions. They provide motivation and allow us to measure how far we've come. And if you aren't very clear on what those are, you can ask yourself the following questions. Where do I see myself in 5 years? What about in 10 years? What skills or past experiences of mine can be useful to the world? What are my passions? What knowledge do I plan on acquiring in the near future? How can I break down my long term goals into actionable short term tasks? What criteria will I use to measure my progress toward each goal? Am I prepared to commit the necessary time and effort to achieve my objectives? Once you know what your main long term goals are, you can break them down into strategic steps. So, what results do you need to achieve each year in order to get closer to that goal? Similarly, what do you have to do every month for that to happen? And what do you have to do every week? And what about every day? By asking yourself this, you simplify a very big task into a figurative ladder that you can now slowly begin to climb by consistently taking action. When I break down my goals, I always look to make sure that what I then set for myself is a SMART goal. For those who don't know what SMART goals are, specific means you have to specify what it is that you have to do exactly. Knowing how you would do it and where you would do it is also really useful. Measurable, you can achieve that by adding a metric or number to the goal. So for me, that's 1,000 words a day. Achievable and realistic asks you to take into consideration your own capabilities and whether or not accomplishing the goal is possible in the time frame and with the results that you've set for yourself. And time bound is asking you to basically give yourself a deadline because it gives you a sense of direction and helps you with the accountability and timing. Because now you'll be able to actively track your progress. And it also means that you won't overestimate your own abilities and set some crazy high goal for yourself, meaning you no longer have to beat yourself up for not finishing a task when that task was impossible to achieve in the first place under the conditions that you've set for yourself. So, fellow perfectionists and overachievers, you're welcome. Now that you've set your goals and divided them into chunks of actionable tasks, you need to decide which of them are going to be your priority. So you can then direct the majority of your attention and effort towards accomplishing them. Look, it is virtually impossible to set out with a list of 10 things to do every day and be able to dedicate an equal amount of attention, effort, and concentrated action to all of them. So once you sit down to plan your week or your day, be really honest with yourself and choose 1 to 3 things that will make the most impact in your life if you get them done. I suggest no more than 5 big accomplishments for the week and 1 to 3 priority tasks per day. It can be a work-related goal, or it can be something like going to the gym 3 times a week or cooking your own healthy dinners every night. Another way of looking at it is if you get those 2 or 3 priority tasks done, then nothing else on that list will matter because your day would have still been a success. Step 3, design your routine. Now we finally reached the most important step, and that is actually building our routine. A key aspect to a successful routine is incorporating a mixture of morning rituals, non-negotiables, and evening wind downs. Our routine is only a routine if it is something that we do day in and day out, which is why it has to be sustainable. If waking up at 6 a.m. every day seems too extreme, then make it 7 a.m. But what I would say is the most important part is to stick to it even on weekends. To regulate your internal clock, a simple trick to help you wake up at the same time every day is to have breakfast as soon as you wake up. Breakfast, not coffee. This way, your metabolism will actually become your ally in helping you wake up every day at the same time. Now, this brings me to our morning rituals. The point of having a routine or waking up a little earlier than you have to is to be able to dedicate this extra time to yourself. Start your days with activities that energize you, like stretching or going for a walk, or a more spiritual practice like reading, journaling, or meditating. It can be simply dedicating half an hour to preparing a healthy breakfast to start the day right. Or it can be because you want to spend 2 hours working on your podcast before heading off to work. It all depends on what your goals are. One big no-go for your morning rituals is your phone. Avoid checking messages, emails, or social media first thing in the morning to minimize distractions. Because I have noticed that the way I start my day is the way that day then unfolds. If I start by scrolling through social media, then I'll spend the rest of the day getting constantly distracted. And if I start the day to run because I'm running late, then that nervous energy will stay with me all the way through to the night. And on the days that I wake up early, I turn off my focus music and I write, I find it much easier to then focus on the following tasks as well. The next part in everyone's routine, I would assume, is work or studying. But in whatever form it may come, it is something that requires time and focused attention, which is why I recommend using the following techniques when scheduling it. Number one, remember your priorities for the day. If they get done, then nothing else matters. Number two, time blocking, which consists of allocating specific time slots for different tasks throughout the day. In order to create a time blocking routine, first you have to divide your day into sections, e.g., morning, afternoon, evening, and then decide your work hours. I was really amazed when I learned that Eminem, yes, the rapper, comes to work at 9 a.m. and he will leave by 5 p.m. It doesn't matter if he's right in the middle of recording a song, he will leave everything as is and return to it in the morning. And I feel like a lot of people have issues with setting boundaries for their work hours, especially young people, entrepreneurs, or freelancers, because we always feel like we should be doing more and that there are other people's out there doing more. So decide on your work hours in advance and stick to them. Block out your workout sessions, your family time, and then go into it with a critical eye and time block your work tasks. The cool thing about this method is it makes you stop and think about each task in advance and ask yourself, is this something that's going to require a long period of time and concentration? Is it something that I can do in between other tasks? But also questions like, am I more creative in the morning or at night? And when am I the most focused? And lastly, make sure to leave buffer time for unexpected events or transitions. I suggest that everyone starts time blocking their days because it is really effective. And number three, it has been proven that oftentimes 20% of the work yields 80% of the results. Now, what that means is that out of a list of 10 tasks that you set for yourself, 2 of the tasks will probably be the ones that give you the majority of the results. This is a formula used by all the millionaires and successful people in the world, and is called the Eisenhower Matrix. It is a tool that helps you prioritize tasks based on their urgency and importance. Number four is to schedule evening wind downs like reading, meditation, or planning for the next day. I have started to lay down a detailed plan for the next day the night before, and it has been fantastic. I wake up and I go straight into it. I don't have to sit and decide what I want to start with, I just execute. So, skipping to step number four. Step four in building a lasting routine is consistency and habit stacking. Now that we have built our routine, I feel like it's important to say that an action or a group of consistent actions only become automatic and easy to execute after 66 days. That is a little over 2 months before we wake up at the same time without much issues, go through our morning routines without getting distracted, and jump into work with a smile. Now, in order to make it 66 consecutive days following this routine we've actually just created, we need to start small. What I mean by this is you need to start incorporating this routine into your life step by step by introducing 1 or 2 new habits at a time to prevent overwhelming yourself. Because if you have to wake up tomorrow at 6 a.m. and stretch and journal and cook and then go into deep work, after a week of doing all of that, you will hate it and quit. So start by moving your wake up time by 15 minutes every day. Introduce 1 new habit a week. Maybe start out with stretching, then next week add your healthy breakfast cooking, etc. I wanted to use this chance to ask all of you guys watching for a favor. I will continue to research all the techniques and theories available on productivity and discipline and share them with you here. It would make it so much easier for me if you would just hit that follow button so I know how many people are watching me and find this valuable. And it will also make it easier for you to then find my next videos on productivity and get ahead of 99% of people. Thank you for watching. Tactic number 2, to not get overwhelmed, is habit stacking. Building new habits by attaching them to existing ones to create a seamless routine. Never think of a new habit in this isolation. Always introduce them into a habit loop, which consists of cue, routine, and reward. For example, I used to simply drink a cup of tea before bed when I decided to read a self-help book for 30 minutes before bed every day. Now, I will make myself a delicious cup of tea and settle into bed where cue, all gadgets are at their respective charging stations and far away from me, so I can't exactly reach for my phone. But I can reach for the Atomic Habits book on my nightstand. Routine. I now drink my tea and I read my book, and I do this for 30 minutes every day. And because the tea tastes delicious and sometimes the book will have a really cool phrase amidst all of that knowledge, it feels rewarding and makes me want to do it again. Step number 5 is accountability and adjustments. The last but not the least important step in all of this is one I haven't seen a lot of people talking about, and that is studies show that telling someone about your goal makes you 65% more likely to do it. And when you set a deadline and check in weekly, then success rates jump to 95%. Accountability is crucial, and you can stay accountable one of two ways. The first one, and personally my favorite and the coolest one, and that is telling someone about what you're going to be doing, be it learning a language or waking up at 6 a.m. or reading a book before bed every day. Find an accountability partner, someone that will check in or someone that you can talk to about that thing. But ideally, it is someone who's willing to take on the challenge with you. This way, you can be each other's motivation when you don't feel like doing it. Second is by using different tools and resources such as physical planners or digital habit trackers. Maybe use a planner, a calendar, or mobile app to schedule tasks and set reminders for your daily priorities or bedtime. Uh, Keep a checklist for daily tasks to stay accountable. A to-do list isn't exactly a tool that you can use on its own. You have to schedule and time block your work, but it is super useful for staying accountable and motivated. I cross off finished tasks throughout the day, and in the evening, I get a look at what I have done and what I have to reschedule. Ideally, there shouldn't be anything to reschedule, but I am an overachiever and a perfectionist, which is a bad combination and makes my to do list so hard to complete because I basically just believe I'm capable of doing this huge amount of work every single day. And I'm not always, which is perfectly fine because we are not going to be functioning at 100% all the time. Sometimes we're at 82% and other days we're at 33%. The most important thing is that you track your progress every day to identify patterns and areas for improvement. For example, when I looked at my to-do list from last week, I noticed that there was one particular task that I kept rescheduling and rescheduling throughout the week because I was avoiding it. But also relax and use these 66 days where your routine is still fresh and malleable to reflect and adjust. Evaluate what's working and what isn't at the end of every week. Make small adjustments to your wake up time, to your evening wind down, and maybe if you chance a look at the amount of work that you schedule for yourself, you realize that there is no way that you could get it done in just an 8-hour workday. So celebrate small achievements and use them as a motivation to maintain your routine. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're interested in productivity and discipline, I have many more videos on my account, so check out my channel down below.